Hello and welcome to our Journalism and Media Week podcast. We're with you every day to review Journalism Week. Today is the first day. Very exciting stuff today. We've heard and spoke to leading journalists of our time, media experts and key figures in the world of media.
The story comes first, every time. The reader comes second.
It was absolutely crucial to get everything right because of the sensitivities around it.
To be angry at the way things are and to be able to expose the way things are and hopefully to make a change to the way things are.
So today we'll be reviewing all of this with me, Lewis Ortiz,
Jessica Greenway,
Chelsea Ward
and Alexandra Pereira.
And we're also live on Facebook. Feel free to join us on our Facebook page, Yorkshire Voice. So guys, how was the day for you?
Really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed today. It's been a good day today.
Yeah, it was great, tiring, but, you know. Then also, today, we had Alex Thompson, Chief Correspondent of Channel 4. Next up was Jeremy Armstrong, the North East Correspondent for the Daily Mirror, and Paul Stewart, ex-England footballer. Most of you sports experts will know him. After that, we had freelance journalist Fleet Street Fox, which is the pseudonym of Susie Boniface. And last but not least is Alex Evans, social media editor for the Yorkshire Evening Post. Our first speaker was Alex Thompson. Alex has a very decorated career. He is the longest serving on-screen journalist on Channel 4 News since the channel began. In more than 25 years, he's covered over 20 wars. So how is Alex? How was he?
Alex Thompson spoke a lot about social media and how important it is for journalists to use different online platforms. One thing that really stood out for me was he mentioned he thinks anger is a good motivator. Let's have a listen and see what you guys think.
Anger is a really good motivation for journalism. To be angry at the way things are and to be able to expose the way things are and hopefully to make a change to the way things are is a really important thing to be able to do, and it's a much underrated virtue. In fact, most people wouldn't even call it a virtue, but I do, and I think it's a really good motivation.
Do you guys think that anger is a motivator in journalism?
I would say not, no, because I think sometimes if your anger gets too much while you're doing a story, it could, jeopardise. I think if too many emotions are involved, it could send your story one way or the other, really. So I would say not. No, what do you think?
I sort of agree with you, Chelsea, because anger and emotions, when they come into play, it makes it very difficult to be able to stay level-headed, and sometimes you can end up acting like a petulant little child, but for some people it might be a motivator, but for me personally, I don't think it's very beneficial or helpful.
I think it does show.
I do think it's quite underrated because if you look at it, recently we've had stories about sexual harassment, all this terrifying news, and I think for most journalists, most female journalists, especially the one with the case of Michael Fallon and the journalist that he touched maybe 15 years ago. Maybe that journalist had that anger. I need to tell the world that this person is doing this. And, you know, Michael Fallon, he's a politician, top politician. And being fueled by anger, as obviously anger is not a very good thing, but she had that motivation to, look, this guy's done this. He's not right for the job. And it's just, what do you think about it? Yeah.
I think, I don't know. Like I said, I think too many emotions is bad because you get too
self-indulgent,
probably a bit self-indulgent with a story when it is just something you're meant to do every day. But I think, like the case that you're on about, I think anger there is a good thing because it is passion, it is raw emotion,
raw passion,
and it is journalism from
journalism,
from the heart,
exactly. And journalism to us, and what we think journalism should be, is revealing the truth, the best version of the truth, and just showing that truth. Obviously leads to a lot of women or men who have dealt with sexual harassment to come out.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good motivator, but it can be seen as a good and bad.
He also says that he doesn't think there will be a rise in younger presenters on the news desk because of experience. Do you think we need more younger faces on the news desk?
I think we do. I think we need a mixture of old and new, because you can't just have someone like, say, Jon Snow presenting the news every day at 7, and he's relatable to some people, but he's not relatable to people our age.
Yeah, you kind of want a new face, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I think maybe like you said then, Jon Snow isn't relatable for us, But if someone our age, because and a lot of kids do watch, and a lot of teenagers, young adults do watch news and stuff like that. But I think the main population for TV news is the older generation. So is someone going to take in news from someone who's younger? I think a lot of us younger ones would be overlooked for the job. So I don't know. I think maybe sticking to the old ones is good because it's for your audience, isn't it? You play
Exactly,
to your
yeah.
audience, really, yeah. So
And you want to have that level of professionalism. And
Yeah.
I'm not looking down on the younger generation, and obviously I'm well part of them. But it just has to be that experience. And, you know, journalism is a competitive world, and you'd rather have someone who has that experience to be in that industry.
Give us a chance, though, guys.
yeah, that's true. Suppose you have to give them a chance, don't we? But I think for the target audience, I'd say older people would be better. But yeah, like Jess said, it might be good for the older ones to step aside and give some of us fresh ones a chance.
Well, our reporter Alex Pereira spoke to some trainee journalists and what they got from the talk.
I thought it was a very insightful lecture. He gave us plenty of pointers for how I can become a good journalist just like him. It was kind of interesting as well.
I thought it was really useful, especially because he's been in the industry for so long. He was able to give a proper insight for people that are just starting off in the industry or trying to start off in the industry.
I thought it was very insightful into the professional world of journalism, and I think he gave us a lot of good tips on how to climb the career ladder.
It was good to get an insight into a reporter's perspective on media and journalism. I thought it was quite good the way he described his journey to journalism, but it's good to see that he went down the training scheme route so that a degree isn't always necessary.
Sounds like a lot of motivated students. We've made a rap-styled summary of his talk today. Here it is on his social media talk.
It's all about Facebook, YouTube, Facebook. Get rid of my voice, get rid of my piece of camera, mercilessly cut it down to something of 2 or 3 minutes. Tweet, and sell it to by millions of people. Twitter. I'm not doing it.
Well, there you go, Alex Thompson, Channel 4 News. Great guy. Moving to our second speaker is Jeremy Armstrong, North East correspondent for Daily Mirror, and Paul Stewart, ex-England football player.
But in this one in particular, it was absolutely crucial to get everything right because of the sensitivities around it.
Alex, you went to this one and you are the sports expert among us. How did you find it?
I thought the talk was very inspiring. You get to look at this man's life from his perspective rather than the media's perspective of it, which I think is quite good because he can tell his side of the story without it being influenced by the media, so to speak.
That's interesting, yeah. Well, also, you told me that Jeremy Armstrong elaborated on the dangers of being a journalist, that our job can affect our family.
The most important thing from my perspective was, have you spoken to your mum and dad, have you spoken to your family, have you spoken to the people who are going to be impacted by the story, because the repercussions are so great.
Well, there you go. You also tell me Jeremy Armstrong has gone through a lot. He's battled through a lot of stuff in the past. Let's not go on about it. But that is actually something we don't realize at times. Journalism, we're in the public eye. We'll be seen by so many people, and we can influence a lot of people. Some may agree with us, some may disagree with us, and sometimes we actually forget the people around us. And sometimes, you know, like people will be like, "Oh, he's connected to him. He's connected to that." Like, what do you guys think about it? That risk.
It is scary, but I think you just have to be careful like anybody else, don't you?
Yeah. You have to just watch your back, don't you, in this industry? I think you go into the job knowing that there's a lot of risks and there's a lot of things that could go wrong, but you have to take risks in anything, don't you? So I think if you're passionate about the job, you do what you need to do.
Yeah, and also sometimes when we go on radio, we'll say something, then obviously other people will disagree on it, and that's what our lecturer Gareth has told and said, that sometimes you'll get a few fans saying that there'll be 20 people just giving him some abuse online, but that's just 20 people, and there's 30,000 listeners. So yeah, there is a risk, but at times it's just a minuscule amount, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think positives outweigh negatives.
Also, in the industry that we're going into, you're never going to please everyone, so there's always going to be someone who doesn't disagree with what you're saying.
I think that's just life in general, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really. There's always people who disagree with you.
Yeah. Well, Actually, our third speaker, which everyone loved through her dynamic storytelling and her experience, is Susie Boniface, but most people know her as Fleet Street Fox.
If you are anonymous as a news reporter, you need to capitalise on that and use it and exploit it, because it's a very useful tool.
Chelsea, you were there, you were ecstatic when you left. Why is that?
Well, everyone knows. She was absolutely fantastic. By far, the best speaker that I have seen throughout my 3 years at doing Journalism Week. She was fresh energy. She just loved her job. And for someone to love their job that much and to be able to sit in front or stand in front and tell that many people why she loves her job, that is just pure passion. She was just really fantastic. Great. Do you guys catch her at all?
No, just missed her, unfortunately. But from what you're saying, she seems like a really good person to sort of, like, I don't know how to say it, but like, sort of, if you wanted to go freelance, the way to go about it, she seems like she's very clued up on how to do that, and I'm sure she'd be willing to give people lots of advice about it.
Also, the thought of freelance is great, isn't it? You're your own boss,
Free.
and like,
Yeah.
she was fun. She was like, she just had so much energy. She had so much, and I think that is the cool thing about being freelance. You are on your own, but it may sound sad, but it actually isn't, because you don't have to go by industry standard. You can be your own boss. You can just do your own thing, find your own stories. And is freelance something that you'd actually go for, guys?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I'd like the idea of being able to work for multiple companies and do what I want to. You're not tied down. If you sign a contract to one company, you can't work for another, and you don't know who you're going to meet. Everywhere's an open door, isn't it, really, for you?
Yeah, and travel wherever you want to go as well. See what you want to see. Write about what you want to write about.
Yeah.
She was really good. She gave it as a great idea of what's important when it comes to a story and what you put first and what comes last. If you want to have a listen to that.
The story comes first, every time. The reader comes second. So, the demands of the story and what you have to do comes first. Then what the reader is interested in and wants to know and needs to know comes second. After that comes the legal requirements. The lawyer comes third. Then the editor. And then the proprietor. Sometimes in a different order for those last three, depending who's the boss. And where you are, your opinions, how you feel. It does not matter if you are the journalist.
That sometimes scares me, actually, because obviously we don't have that industry standard, but you still have to be careful when you're freelance, and obviously what you say as well can some people may say is rude, some people may say is like that you're just, I don't know, but it's that lawyer type thing that the law still comes in. You are still tied down by that law, so you just have to be careful at times, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, like Alex said earlier, it's one of them cases, isn't it? You can't do everything by the book all the time. You have to take risk, and you have to do things that not everyone's going to agree with. She was just fantastic, honestly. It was just a really good interview, a really good talk. But I gained a lot of information from it, and if anything, she inspired me more to want to become a journalist, which I think is not something many people can do.
I know, yeah. And well, Tia was saying as well, like how journalists really aren't, people just look down on us. Well, not look down on us, but like they see us as a pest at times. But some people don't realise that we are trying to bring that truth, and I think it is quite nice that she's just keep going and going. And she actually said, I can't remember at the top of my head, but she said about like, when you're a journalist, you just go through so much in 1 week. People will turn you down. You'll get into arguments. This will happen probably like 100 a week. But just as soon as that one person say to you, thank you, you've actually changed my life, that you've actually able to give me a voice, I think that's great. And I think that is one of the reasons why I do want to be a journalist. And yeah.
I think the fact that she loves her job and she's so passionate about it, it's something very rare to see these days, because a lot of journalists, they may like their job, they may love it, but they don't really show it. And I think it's important to
It's all that stress, man. It's all that stress and deadlines. That's why.
It's all about being excited about what you want to go into, because there's no point wanting to go into journalism if you're not excited and you haven't got that passion for it.
I think not disregarding the rest of the guys either. The rest of the guys from today were fantastic as well. I just think, I don't know, I think for people to stand there and, like I said earlier, give a description of what they do and why they love the job, and even give us guys pointers of what we can do to get into the industry.
Exactly.
It's nice to hear the truth about journalism from a professional, because you hear stuff and we read stuff in the news. Yeah. But it's nice, like I said, to hear stuff from a professional's point of view, really.
Yeah. Well, actually, should we look at some tweets when she came on? Yeah,
I'll have a look at a couple. So we've got one from Evie Whittaker 01. Her tweet says, "From dodging bullocks to rifling through bins, Fleet Street Fox gave a great insight into what it's really like to be a journalist." That was a funny story she told. She was rummaging through David Cameron's bins to do with recycling. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
And then Rosebud Hughes says, "A fantastic talk from Fleet Street Fox to a packed audience. Thank you for telling us the real truth about being a journalist." And then we got another one from Stephanie.
Also, sorry to interrupt. Did anyone actually ask why she named herself Fleet Street Fox?
Yeah, she did mention something to do with the Fleet Street. I think it was is the area.
Yeah.
And the fox came from. She said something along the lines of, "Far away, you look good, you look nice, as a journalist do.
Yeah.
And then when you get up and close and personal as foxes, it's a bit like, whoa, a bit scary. And we're pests to everyone. As journalists, foxes are pests."
Yeah.
She said as well, Tories don't like foxes. Tories don't like us.
She don't mean Sly is a fox.
Sly is a fox.
Yeah,
maybe she could have meant that, but yeah. She said a few things to do with foxes, but I think it's a good title. That.
Yeah. Well. Should we carry on? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. We've got one from Stephanie KLTU. Refreshing, honest talk about the things people don't want to tell you about journalism, by Susie Boniface. And then we've got one more from Dean. Your job as a journalist is to tell the stories nobody else wants to tell. I think that's just a good sum up of what she told us today.
Would you say she's your favourite speaker at the moment?
So far.
Yes,
she has been my favourite speaker, but I'm looking forward to the rest of the week. We've got some great guys lined up, so
definitely.
Excited to what the rest of the week's going to bring.
Well, anyway, our final speaker for the day is Alex Evans, social media editor for the Yorkshire Evening Post. So, Alex was the final speaker, guys. How was it? Final day?
I didn't actually catch Alex, if I'm truly honest with you. I was doing a bit of editing at the time, but a couple of the guys went in and said that he was really good and he explained it really well. I think it was his confidence most that stood out. I think he was quite a young guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was quite. Sorry, wasn't he quite like the modern media type guy now?
Yeah, he's not long been out of university, has he?
Okay. How long? Sorry.
I don't know. I'm not sure really. But he said that he finds a lot of stories trending on Twitter. One which he said he's seen a post saying Wetherspoons had banned people from wearing poppies. He ended up finding out it wasn't a true statement. But that just makes me think that is Twitter actually
a reliable source?
Yeah, a reliable source.
Well, who was it? Going back to Alex Thompson, he actually said in this talk that we need to look at more sources. We can't just rely on one source because what was it? They had Channel 4 had that problem with the Westminster things, but there you go. It's just the fake news. But sometimes we just need to look more different ways and everything.
Fake news is actually getting put in the dictionary, guys.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's the new word of 2017.
That's because Trump uses it that much. He might be in the dictionary, doesn't he?
Yeah.
No, I think it was good for someone young as well, especially because he's new in the industry.
Yeah.
For him to come and talk to us, it's closer to what we're going to be as graduates in a few years' time. He's the closest thing at the moment to what we can sort of compare ourselves or look towards in the closer future.
There's actually a competition running for the Yorkshire Evening Post. If you can design a digital journalism project idea for their website, the winner gets to be involved with them and produce it next year.
Oh.
So we're already doing DMP, aren't we? So that can help us with it.
I just think with the way technology is going and the way apps are evolving and stuff, I think social media is a big part of the future of journalism.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there'll be so many new ones coming out as well. So
it's just like that little rap that Jess made for us. Social media, Facebook, Twitter. It's a new thing.
You're going to remember that.
You think now, don't you? You can access so much now on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
Like Sky News tweet stuff, BBC tweet stuff. They're all constantly tweeting. So you don't actually need.
And they've got their own
a newspaper
soon.
Like
they've got anything else.
Like they've got their own apps as well, so you can just get specific news from them and still keep up to date.
Definitely. Well, it's been a first day for Journalism Week, and it has been a great day. We are very thankful for the speakers that joined us. So, Alex, can you tell us who's coming tomorrow?
Yes, we've got Phil Daly of Leeds Rhinos, and he's also an LTU alumnus. Gareth Davies, who is the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, and finally, David Brain, former TalkSport presenter and also another LTU alumnus.
Exciting stuff, guys, and thank you for joining us for our first day of Journalism and Media Week 2017 podcast. Join us tomorrow again to hear our views and reviews of the week and how inspiring this year's speaker have been to the people attending. You can also follow us on Twitter at Journalism Week or with our hashtag LTJW, or follow us on Facebook coverage and follow our Facebook page, Yorkshire Voice, and even follow us on Snapchat at Yorkshire Voice. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.